So now we need to link our object to the URL that actually exists for it. So if we look at our urls.py, if you remember, we just had, it goes from products to this page, which is primary key, and that shows the detail view itself. So we can do the long way of actually putting the list in, or the link in, that is. So ahref, and then let's close this out. We can actually do /products/ and then it's going to be object.id, or actually, excuse me, object.pk, so object.primary key, even though they're the same, we'll do object.pk, and that will actually give us a link to where we need to go. So let's go ahead and refresh into our list, and we can click on it, and it does take us to the corresponding product. Well, that's okay, but what if we changed our main URLs to being, instead of products, to being product? Then we go back into our list, so let's go just to product, and we click on this. It now is going somewhere that isn't exactly what we want it to be. So that's where, if we look at our product name or product detail, that's where this actually makes a big difference. So if we copy this right here and go back into our product list, now what we can do is say URL, and then we get the URL itself, and then we want to do pk is equal to object.pk, and this will now give us a URL that is a little bit more dynamic. It'll change with the whatever this changes to the name. As long as the name's the same, the URL itself can change as much as you'd like, and it'll still work just fine. So this right here should be good. So let's go and refresh into our page, back into products again, because we changed it back. And if we click on it now, it does do that. And of course, if you tested and changed the root URL part, so this right here, it would also work still. So if we went to, called it ABC, and we clicked on it, it's still going to take us exactly where we need it to be. Cool. So now that we have that, let's go back into our products. And there's still one more way to make this even better. So if we wanted our URL to really, or our actual link to really stand out, we would use something called get absolute URL. So assigning the URL to the model instance itself. So instead of doing this long thing, we would do object.get underscore absolute underscore URL. This is actually the best way to do it, and it's also how Django particularly finds any instance itself. So if we save it like that for now and refresh, this is actually not going to give us any URL because we have implemented the get absolute method on our model. So let's go into our models. Inside of products, we're going to come in here and do define get absolute URL, and it's going to be self, and it's going to return, well, we have that same idea. So we could do, again, we could write it out, hard code it, and string substitute into self.pk, and that will get us that URL, right? If you see the URLs on the bottom, or if you just go there, click on any of them, that will do it. But instead, we want to use what's called a URL resolver, which is for reverse. So from django.core.url resolvers, import reverse. We now are going to do the same thing that we did on the list, which was using URL. This time it's going to be reverse, and the name of the URL itself, which is product detail, and then the keyword argument, so keyword args equals to pk self.pk. Now that we have that, if we refresh in here, these now work just fine. So if we click on them, it actually takes us directly to that product. And I'm actually going to have a trailing slash here at the end, as well as a $sign to signify that the product is done after that primary key. So I refresh in here. If I click, it now takes me and has a trailing slash there and doesn't leave it open-ended. All right, cool. So that is how to use get absolute URL to make these instances a little bit more dynamic and easier to access. So if you have any questions on this, let us know. Otherwise, let's keep going.